Hi, everyone. So as Alexandra mentioned, our topic today is the power of visuals and how brands can use visuals in an impactful manner, especially in a world dominated by social media when consumers are flooded by hundreds of millions of new images every day. And I asked our panelists to introduce themselves and share a picture with us that was impactful for them at some point. And I thought it would only be fair if I did the same. So I went through a bunch of images, and I decided to show you this one. Oh, it's there already.
Yeah, there.
And there's a story behind this, which I think is quite funny. I was born and raised in Romania, which was a communist regime until '89. So until then, when I was around 5, we had no access to any products or merchandise from abroad. And right when communism fell, my parents started traveling in neighboring countries, and whenever they came back, they would bring back these bottles of Coca-Cola, which for me as a 5, 6-year-old at the time, they seemed like these exotic, inaccessible drinks that I wanted to drink all the time, but I could only drink occasionally. So I don't always think about this story when I see a Coca-Cola bottle nowadays, but when I think about it, it makes me smile. So with this in mind, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jose de Cabo. I'm a co-founder at Olapic. It's a New York tech startup that we are growing rapidly. I just moved to London to open the London operations. We're 81 people. And what we're doing is we're helping brands to embrace social communication with their audiences. Now, we work with a lot of fashion and beauty brands because to bring the content that their consumers are taking online and photos on Instagram and so on, to bring them into the e-commerce experience, to help them, generate more brand awareness, and in the end, we're a data-driven company to sell more. No, and the image that for me was impactful, and it wasn't a long time ago, it was just last year that came out, and you guys have seen it, and it doesn't fully represent reality. This is when the Pope got announced in 2005, and for me, is how the world has changed so much from 2005 to today. In the end is this, no, is having mobile phones and that everybody has a camera on their pocket, and even though the picture is it's not fully representing reality, it's for us in the company, this is what we're tapping into, is this amount of content that is out there, that is 880 billion photos in 2014. So it's just a number that is insanely large. And in the end, is a visual revolution or a mobile revolution that is happening, and this photo really embraces it. Justin.
Hi, I'm Justin Cooke. I'm the founder of TunePix, which is a new social network, the fastest growing social network in the world. You can download it on the App Store. Free plug. It's basically a social network that allows you to put a song on every single image that you post, and we believe that music is one of the most powerful expressions in the world. And for this generation coming through, they're looking for a new way of articulating how they feel. And we've layered in emotion so that people can apply color to their feeling. And I think the combination of music and images and tapping into all your senses is something that we think is going to be really, really powerful. So in the future, we'll be able to say to you that people in Germany are listening to this genre of music at 4 o'clock, and it makes them feel happy. And I think that data is not only beautiful, but will be incredibly powerful. And this image is, in fact, an image of my mother, who passed away in 2001, and is kind of the inspiration for the platform, because music was probably the only thing that allowed me to truly express myself and to grieve. And I guess there are so many parts of her and me in this platform, so it's a truly emotive place. And my team did a lot of research into the brain and the heart, and we consider emotion in every single interaction. My background is as a CMO at Topshop and Burberry, and so we've always used digital and emotion to bring magical experiences to life. So
I'm Susan Danziger. I'm the founder and CEO of Zigio. And what Zigio is an API for video recording and playback, so it's embeddable video recorder. But really what it is a way for people to be able to record their stories, their comments, who they are from any place in the world at any time using just a mobile device, your phone or computer, and submit it directly to wherever you want those videos to go. So it's a private embeddable video recorder and goes straight to your platform. So I chose a video that is actually one of the first 20 videos that was. Yeah, wait, one second. Let me just intro. So this is one of the first 20 videos that was part of the Kickstarter platform.
I wrote a song.
And as you know, that's for crowdfunding. So
I'm trying to make a scene. Dear Internet, I need your help. I'm trying to make a CD. Hello Internet, my name is Alison Weiss. You may know me from the internet or from real life. I'm coming to you today because I need your help. I'm recording a new EP in June and it's going to be really good. I mean, I think it's going to be good. You'll probably like it.
So the reason I chose this video is I think it's a really great example of how video can really bring out the authentic you. Allison here started out by wanting to raise $2,000. She ended up raising over $7,000. And before Kickstarter introduced video, well, Kickstarter was the first platform, crowdfunding platform to introduce video. Before that, without video, none of the other platforms were able to take off. And I think the reason is, as you see from Allison, she's so authentic. You can relate to her. You know immediately she's someone you could trust and want to, in this case, give money to. And that really is sort of the story behind Zigio, is being able to relate to the people, hearing firsthand their stories, and bringing them right to you.
What I really love about our panelists is that they all started companies that have to do with visuals, but with a different twist, with an innovative twist, either regarding images or video. I'd love to understand what made you start a company in this field and why you thought that change was needed.
So for us, in the end, it's something that is very human. No, as human beings, we're inherently visual. We've been consuming content for hundreds and thousands of years, and we're wired that way, and text only a few thousand years. No, so it was like that way of communicating. It's part of us, and we consume it very quickly and very rapidly. And on the other side was like, okay, every brand needs visual, and it's so hard to make good, photos and videos. And in the end, we saw the visual trend, with the photo that I showed, that is like now everybody can actually produce reasonably amount of good content, and we can all be content producers and photographers. And we actually matched the two, because Instagram, which is one of the platforms that we're analyzing all the time, it has proven that you can, everybody's an amazing photographer now. Like before, you could be a lousy photographer. Now with Instagram, you're just amazing. And so for us, the reason for building it is we saw that the brands needed content, the consumers were actually generating it, and we found a scalable way to really match the two. And so in the end, it's visual, it's social for a brand, and then we've been able to prove results of increased conversion. So for us was finding that match between supply and demand in the end.
Was there a moment when you came up with the idea, or was it more of a gradual process?
It was a gradual process. It wasn't like we knew that the volume of content, there was things that we could do around it, but until we didn't dive into it and changed the model a little bit and really got very deep into the data, we were not able to see that putting a photo next to a model, you can actually, if you apply the right logic, you can actually increase e-commerce conversion. And that was the part that it wasn't initially from the start. Now we look at it and it's like, oh, it makes total sense. No, like you want authentic content to be there because you want to know how a product looks in real life. But at the beginning, for us, it was, I think it was like a year or so until we found product market fit. And then 2 years ago, we started growing very rapidly, and now we're 80 people and growing.
Right,
so,
yeah.
So that was the...
Very nice story. I'd love to hear your stories as well for this question. I think it's an interesting one.
Why did I start it?
Go ahead.
I think, for me, there was obviously a deep personal connection with the idea. And actually, the first time it started, I was kind of walking down the road and I took a picture of some leaves. And I agree completely with Jose, like everyone's an amazing photographer now. And I took a photograph of some beautiful autumn leaves, and I had my iPhone, of course, because the camera and the phone are the same thing. And I wanted it to have music on it. And I went into my library and I pulled out Paolo Nutini's Autumn Leaves. And the two of them just created this quite incredible experience in front of my eyes, and I was like, oh my God, how does this not exist? And I started looking into it, and I was looking at the fact that Apple had never had a social product, and they're such a huge company, so I was like, this is exciting. I'd seen what Shazam's revenues were. There were 500 million pictures a day being uploaded to the internet, 100 million songs being downloaded. I was like, this is like dynamite. I better go and do this. And I actually held on to the idea for about 2.5 years because I couldn't trust anyone. I didn't know who to give it to. I was like, who do I tell now? I've got this great idea, and I know from my experience in my career that having a great idea is pretty much worthless, unless you know how to bring it to life, unless you can execute it well, unless you can maintain it. So it took me time to find the right people, and luckily I met people like Laura and Nicola in my career who were working with me, and I was able to share that, and we found some great people at Jazz at AKQA to help us build it. And yeah, it's tough. You read a lot when people have an entrepreneurial kind of company that the hardest part is the beginning because it's so lonely, and it is, and it continued to be. But I just felt there was nowhere, particularly for this generation, to really express the way that they feel. And you look at the speed at which they use products and content, and it's all quick, and the clips on here are 30 seconds, and I had a conversation with Will.i.am, who's a friend of ours, and we do some business with, and he said, you got to put it on autoplay because they want it like that, and it's just like little recognitions that this generation is consuming music and information, and it's kind of strange because it didn't exist in a social space, and I think potentially we've created something really, really powerful, and now we've just got to be the best, because I don't believe it's about being the first, it's about being the best. There will always be competition.
Of course.
So I started Zigio, actually, it was to solve a very personal problem. I know yesterday in the coding talk, they spoke about people creating businesses or apps around, to solve their own personal issues. And so on the personal note, we actually are doing something that would be considered illegal here in Munich, Germany, or in Germany in general, which is that we're homeschooling our children. And people are like, how can you do that yourself? We're not doing it ourselves. We're actually hiring tutors to teach our kids. And we realized that we need to figure out a really good way to find out who would be the great tutors, who would be the ones to teach our kids. And so what we did was, we put a call out and we got tons and tons of resumes. But by looking at the resumes, we had no idea about, who these people were and the stories behind them, and whether there would be a fit for our family. So we created Zigio, the original Zigio, basically to have a way for the candidates to record themselves on video, telling their stories and telling it themselves through their own words, not just reading from the resumes, but really sort of hearing firsthand from them. And from those videos, we were able to quickly garner who we wanted to invite in for an interview. So that's really the start of Zigio.
Very exciting. So I think that one trend that I hear in all your stories is allowing people to share their own content. And we see this in the real world. We see a rise of platforms that allow users to share their generated content in a very, very easy manner. Instagram, Snapchat, just to name a few. How important, TunePix is the first one, yes. How important do you think is this type of user-generated content to brands, and how can they use it in an impactful manner? And I'm sure you'll have quite a bit to say about this, Jose.
I know we've been working with. In the beginning, we were the crazy guys, techies, telling a company, you have this immense amount of content that we can actually tell you which are the best photos, and you can use them on your marketing, on your e-commerce. And so in the beginning, it was like the brand saw it as a source of content, and in the end, as a source to connect one-on-one with their consumers, because in the end, consumers are taking photos, and the brands were not tapping into it. After working, now we work with 150 amazing brands now, from Puma to Calvin Klein, and in the end, these brands have learned is that the content can be, even though it's user-generated and it's not being photoshopped and so on, the quality can be very, very good, and it has authenticity. And then when you combine the two, and you can actually put like imagery that is branded, and you can put it next to a user-generated content, like the brand message, it can be much more powerful, and that's what we're learning all the time in the end. So what we have seen is that, in the end, that the trend is just only starting now. Like a few years ago, when we started, we were saying 100 million photos uploaded to the internet, and we were like, wow, this is insane. And now it's 1.8 billion a day. So it's like the content, so the trend is just even starting. And imagine when you have Google Glass that you can actually take a picture without having to do the awkward moment. So it's going to be even further. So what we're seeing is that brands are realizing that the consumers can generate and tell the stories and storytelling as good as, or sometimes even better than, the own brand can.
And do you have a sense that people are more and more open to sharing their pictures with the general public and not only with their group of friends?
So we're seeing the trend. Like in the end, there is two types of platforms. Like whenever you upload a photo to Facebook and to and only your close, like or it's your private album, or only your friends. But then there's platforms like Instagram or Twitter, TunePic, that you're actually broadcasting to the world, and consumers are more and more used to sharing, and they want to be part of the brand. They're actually mentioning the brand with a hashtag, so they're trying to. So in that sense, I think that the sense of ownership of privacy has diminished a lot in certain part of the population.
And how about user-generated videos? Obviously, as we were talking before the panel, it's slightly more difficult for consumers to create a good video. Where does video fit in today?
Right. So I think you're absolutely right that videos are in early days. It's not like it's only recently that we've have the capability to take videos on our phones. And frankly, the quality of videos, it's not fabulous. You're not creating beautiful videos. There are a lot of cheap tools for editing photos that haven't yet come to video. I know that innovation is coming. We're working on that at Zigio. But I do see, though, that there is innovation that's happening around the kinds of ways that people are submitting videos. So, for instance, video comments to blogs or news articles. I'm seeing news organizations do that with Zigio. I'm seeing video reviews of products, which is really interesting. Yelp announced that they were incorporating video reviews, and we've seen statistics and talked to people that have said that when you have a video that's associated with the product, people are 85% more likely to actually purchase the product. And in fact, one person I spoke with said that her conversion rate went from 0.2 or 0.3% of clicks to buy to over 5%,
wow,
which is incredible.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Okay. And since we all touched upon the fact that there has been an explosion of images and videos shared with the world thanks to social media, it sounds like personalization becomes more and more important, just showing the right images and the right videos to the right people. How do you guys focus on that, if at all? It's TunePix, for example.
Well, I mean, I think there's this step before that, which is kind of the most important thing, which Jose references. It's the curation. So I think, everybody now knows how to take a beautiful photograph because the bar has been set, because you've been given the filters to do that, because global brands are putting beautiful content out there. So you have amazing projects like the Johnny Cash project. I mean, myself and my team were involved in launching Art of the Trench at Burberry, and that was, was a place where people could upload their own images of themselves in their trench coat. But the first 100 images were shot by the sartorialist, who was one of the best street style photographers. And so what you do is you show the consumer the way, and then they start to follow. If you don't set that bar, then you might end up with poor content. And now I think, as Jose was saying, everybody's able to do that. And I'm not sure that exists in video yet, other than incredible cinematography and films, and it's hard for most people to achieve that. So I definitely agree there's an innovation opportunity there for people to, there's some great apps like 8mm and things like that, which will allow people to make more beautiful film. But I also think it's about time. A picture is instant for most people, and I think a lot of these kids and people, they want that famous Warhol 15 seconds of fame. So hashtagging the brand or @ing the celebrity is going to get them that attention. So they've got everything there to create this kind of environment where people are incentivized to post purely because they want to be the most well-known person in their community of friends, or they've been retweeted by a brand or favorited by someone. And that the power of that engagement of one brand like Gucci just giving like a favorite to someone's tweet, and they're like, oh my god, I mean, we've seen it with TunePix. People are doing, you're able to share onto Facebook and Twitter. And we've been trending on and off in countries all around the world. And just a simple engagement from TunePix, the brand, which has a small following, or from myself, creates like a ripple effect of loads of folks saying, OMFG, TunePix retweeted me. They said they liked my picture. And it's really beautiful for us because we're excited that they're using the platform, and they're excited that we're communicating with them. And I think that's part of the magic. I think one of the things for us is when we set out on this journey, ironically, we play in a very small but deep space. So there's only really like 5 or 6 competitors in our area in social networking of the big established brands. Whereas if I'd gone after photography, there's probably 10 million apps on the App Store with the photography. Even Instagram is listed as a photography app. So I think, sometimes you have to be bold and you have to be brave, and you have to believe in creating a community, because lots of technology is put out there to use with other mediums. But we've said, well, we believe we can build our own community, and we believe that we're building for the next generation, and we stand by that.
I think you touched on a very interesting point, which is that encouraging consumers and telling them that they're doing a good job and taking good pictures helps a lot. It's massive. And this reminds me of our conversation before regarding video, and whether people might be harder on themselves on video versus on image. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely right. I think, it's very true that a lot of us are very hard on themselves when it comes to taking video. I think that some of us think, well, we've got an accent, so we can't, we shouldn't be recording ourselves, or we're not 20 years old, so we're not in the prime of, looking beautiful, or, I sound funny on video, all different kinds of reasons. And I think that that's a real shame that I think each one of us, as we've heard today, has a story to tell. And there's statistics that say that you're 60,000 more times likely to understand a concept through visuals than you are with pure text. And each one of us can really, by sort of getting over ourselves and saying, basically telling the world our stories on video is an incredibly powerful way to relay that. And in fact, just yesterday, we were out in the lobby here, a bunch of us, talking about how we were sort of, all hard on ourselves, and we decided to start a movement. You've heard it here. We're calling it No Apologies, and it really is all about, don't apologize for being who you are. Tell your story, and let everybody hear and share in who you really are.
I think that's very interesting because I have a friend in the audience, Carolina, and before I came on stage, she asked me, do you want me to film you? Do you want me to make a video of the panel? And I said, no, pictures are fine. So I fully understand where you're coming from with this idea. I like the movement.
No apologies.
No apologies. Right. We've already reserved the URL, noapologies.me.
Great. And since we're talking about images and aesthetics and beautiful things, do you think that images can be enough to tell a full story? Do you think that images and editorials or images and music are necessarily more powerful?
Images and music.
We know where Justin stands.
That's nice, thank you. You know, for me personally, I love, you know, awakening all of the senses of a person. It's kind of the thing, you know, when I hear a sound, I can smell something, you know, and all of those senses are so closely connected. But most of what we do online is just about what we see. And so, you know, we've been looking at how we integrate touch into, you know, being able to add your emotion and every kind of sense. And I think the more you can do that, the more powerful the experience becomes. I think that, you know, I'm the kind of person that when I look at a film, if I watch it a second time, I see something else. So one of my favorite things that one of our users tweeted the other day was that the music makes you look at the picture for longer. And I think that's a really beautiful sentiment, which is that you're now, you know, you're seeing something else. You're spending maybe a little bit more time with that picture. And for sure, I mean, you know, music, when certainly in my career and for fashion companies and brands that we've worked with, it's just the most incredible way to really heighten the mood and add, you know, if you want to create an environment and a moment, it's about video, it's about music, it's about being multi-sensory and really being able to immerse people in a world. And hopefully, you know, within our platform, every single tune pick creates that opportunity for the user or for the person who's sharing something.
Yeah, in fact, they say that with video, people spend 100% more time on the site than otherwise. It's that rich engagement that really creating that community environment.
It's just about all those layers, you know. The more you, and also I think then you appeal to many more people because maybe the image on its own is one thing, but the song might attract someone else, and the video, the way it's shot, maybe is appealing to somebody else. So the more kind of, you know, experiential something that becomes, the wider it becomes. And, you know, back to the physical and digital thing, I think as well that, you know, the more now we, you know, like I'm sending you a text and you're sitting right beside me, it's kind of crazy. The more you can put that human touch back into technology, even though it's, you know, there's still a digital kind of component to it, but you're putting, you know, real emotion back into it, and it's important because I still love that person that I'm leaving a heart for on their picture. I still feel something, and I think if you can get closer to that, it's a little bit more magical. You know, the further we get away from each other, I think the more important it becomes.
Right. I mean, if you think about it, you know, the language only started, or written language was only about 4,000 years ago, whereas the visuals and how you react when you saw somebody, you know, the facial expressions, all of that's, you know, goes back 40,000 years. So it's ingrained in us that it's really all about the visuals.
And on this very nice note, perhaps we could go back full circle and just talk a little bit about brands as well, and what tips you would have for brands to use visuals in a more impactful manner, if any?
So for us, what we're seeing that it's working very well in the end, like the digital experience of a brand, no, their homepage, like you have the whole funnel from the, you know, the initial part until all the different sections of the site. So it's working well, like to embrace the like visual, because the webs, they should be fully visual, and embrace the social networks to like Instagram and all the others to generate brand content that is authentic and push it out, and then listen what comes back, because the community in those networks are generating content around your brand. Like if you're BMW, you have I don't know how many million photos out there that you can use and bring them to tell the brand story and be customer centric. So that's the part that I would really like. What we're seeing is very good results when brands embrace them.
Be reactive to what your consumers are telling you.
Exactly, and have the two-way communication. Like share with them content that is unique through Facebook or Instagram, and then use that to bring them to your site and to show them something that is that is not only branded content, but it has the customer in the mix as well.
For me, it would be, you know, just to have, you know, everybody assumes there's a formula or some basic things that you have to do when you're a brand in order to create content. And I think all that does is create a whole lot of similar content. And I always encourage brands and CEOs and people that I work with to create something with a really strong point of view. It doesn't matter if someone, you know, agrees or disagrees, if it's true to your company, and honestly the best guidance you can have is the instincts of the people who work for your company. And if you're able to articulate the true depth and meaning of what you're working on in the brand, I think it's the most powerful content you can ever have. It's just like any good writer. They write from their heart and they talk about something that they love, and you feel that. And it's the same with content. You can't just create, let's make an emotional video. Okay, we need a song, we need this, we need that. You know those, when you watch a brand that really embodies itself in content, you want to watch it again and again. It doesn't feel like advertising. It doesn't feel like brand promotion. It feels like you have a connection to that company.
So be true to your message, be true to your brand.
And make a real connection with people, because they're so wise, as you're saying, they're seeing millions of bits of content every single day. The only way you're going to leave an impression is if you do something meaningful, because it will stay with them forever.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but I think the most important brand that you can possibly enhance is the brand of yourself, and really to use video and visuals to make yourself shine, to tell the stories that you want to tell. And that as far as companies go, it's really, if their message is authentic and they can find a way to sort of engage their consumers in an authentic way that match what the consumer stories are all about, then I think they're in business.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think we're unfortunately out of time. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.